people here. Yay! Yeah. So welcome whether you're in person at our very limited socially distanced event here at Warner Park, or if you are viewing this via YouTube or Facebook Live. Welcome to the final day of our 50th anniversary kickoff event. My name is Greg Markham. I am Executive Director of Operation Fresh Start. And I get the pleasure of being your host today. So welcome to the event. Today, our event is focused on the theme of future. So this is both the future which we provide for young people and have been providing for 50 years, and also the future of the organization. So we will be able to focus on both in one day. So for you today, we're going to talk about the youth we serve, talk about some of our programming, have a panel of experts in this field, and then also provide our final award to two people who have been instrumental in the growth of the organization. So thanks for being part of this. As I look at future, every day we provide future. We provide future for young people who may not have thought that they had a future, may not have thought that they had a good future. And we work with them to understand that they have the strength and the power and the potential to have a positive future. Our vision as an organization is that all youth in our community are assets. And that means that each youth who you walk by on the street and each youth who is in programming at Fresh Start is an asset in our community and has something to give to our community, give to their family, and give to themselves. So as we look at this, we've tried to search deeply how we can help our youth see themselves as assets and how they can become assets in the community. About 2 years ago, year and 8 months ago, we moved into our wonderful new place. It's on Milwaukee Street. When COVID's over, we'll ask you to come visit. Some of you were there for our grand opening. It's a great space. We have 3 times as much space. And we did it with the goal of serving twice as many youth. There are 4,000 opportunity youth in Dane County. So these are youth who are not employed and not actively engaged in education. And not employed means perhaps very underemployed or actually not working. So these youth are opportunity youth. They have an opportunity for a brighter future, and they are the opportunity for our community. So as we were moving, we started on a process of determining what's next for the organization in the space where it was built so that we could serve twice as many young people. So we developed an opportunity roadmap. So for you folks who are here, you probably got one with all of your handouts. So you can take a look. The real meat of it is on the middle. For you folks at home, you're looking at a slide probably which shows sort of the highlights of it. But what we looked at is where youth are and some of the gaps in the community. So we began with doing focus groups with about 100 young people who were not engaged in programming with Fresh Start. So we partnered with a lot of organizations to meet other young people. And we got a lot of news from the young people about what was going on in their lives and what was not going on in their lives. And we heard that there are a number of things that these young people have to overcome. And the great thing about working with youth age 16 to 24 is that they're at that transition point where they, as a young person, as a young adult, have the potential to overcome the things of their past. So with that, though, one thing which we understood through these meetings, these focus groups, is that a number of young people face trauma and health issues which were carrying over as they work towards adulthood. So that was one thing to focus on. The other thing young people mentioned was access. And access to understanding what their potential was and what the community has available for them as a potential. So one of the neat quotes which we often heard was, we ask young people, how do you figure out what's next? You're 18 years old, you finished high school, maybe you didn't, but how do you figure out what's next? And almost all of them said, I asked my friends. Now, if you think about that, that's like a circular motion of asking friends. It's not really circular, it's more cyclical and headed in the wrong direction. So that access to caring adults who can help them figure out that what's next, because they are at that wonderful transition point where they do have a what's next. And then work readiness. And we heard this from both employers. We talked also to about 40 different organizations, governments, employers about this population. And work readiness, you heard it from young people and you heard it from employers, and it sounded a little different, but it was all the same thing. The young people were like, I don't even know how to walk into that place. I don't understand what they're talking about. System change, product delivery, what is that? And we heard from employers of, well, the young people don't ask questions. And, sometimes they're looking at their phone instead of at me. So there's a disconnect between workplaces which can be available and where the young people are at that 18, 19, 20-year age range. So then we looked at the community and what's filling these things. And there are gaps. There are gaps with helping that 18-year-old transition into adult systems. We talked to a number of young people who were in families where perhaps they were in supported housing, but when they turn 18, they can't be part of that supported housing family anymore. And no one's there to actually help them figure out the what's next. So there's that basic resource gap. We have certain facilities and systems in place for adults as far as re-engagement in the workforce, but nothing really directed specifically at young people, helping them on a path not only towards employment, but towards a career. Driver's license attainment. We know that a high school diploma is the #1 qualification for work in Dane County, but we also know that a driver's license is the #2 qualification for work in Dane County. Most high schools don't include driver's education. And when you're 18, the process to get a driver's license is much easier than when you're 17 and much more meaningful. So one thing which we've already started is a drive program focused just on that driver's license. And then expanded industry partnerships, looking at expanded internships, work experience, these opportunities for young people to actually go into workplaces, get some experience, and figure out if that's the career path that they want. So these are some of the things which we're looking at as far as programming. I told you about the DRIVE program, which we started. We've started a new program partnering with a corrections system called Drive to Succeed, which is helping young people who were incarcerated as they're coming out of that system into a mentoring relationship. And we're doing it in a partnership with Just Dane, where they have an expertise in selecting and training mentors, and we have an expertise in the youth. So that's a new program we're working on. So all of these are looking at how we can help those 4,000 youth take that next step. Because we know we do great programming. We know we've served 8,000 youth. We know about the success stories. We know that we are the only organization singularly focused on this population in the community. And boy, I wish there was another, because we have a long road ahead. We have a lot of work to do. But with our history and with the support of the community, with your support, we will do it. We will help more young people achieve success. So that's a little bit about our roadmap and where we're looking to go with it. It's going to be fun. I'm excited for the next 50 years. So how we get there? We get there in a few different ways. We get there with a great staff, which is dedicated and comes up with these great ideas and focuses on the youth, on every single aspect of the youth and the opportunity which is there for them. But to be blunt, we get there with money. So this event is part of a fundraising event. It's part of a fundraising year where we're working to raise $1 million over our 50th anniversary, and starting with this 50th anniversary kickoff event. So to speak a little bit more about it, I'd like to introduce Jody Wires, our wonderful development director. Jody.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here. And I just want to thank everyone who's able to join us here in person, as well as online for our final day of our kickoff series. So our goal for the kickoff of our 50th anniversary campaign celebration is to raise $50,000 to expand current and future programming. We wanted to thank Second Market Capital Economic Opportunity Foundation for generously matching all donations up to $50,000. So far, we have raised $47,933. The matching donation continues until September 30th, so we still have time to reach our goal. So you can go online at www.operationfreshstart.org to give. So at this time, I would like to bring up Ross Bowler, who is the Chief Executive Officer at Second Market Capital, to say a few words. Ross.
Thank you. I asked Robin Sherman from Second Market Capital what the theme of my presentation was supposed to be, and it's Second Market Capital Economic Opportunity Foundation partners with Operation Fresh Start. And that's a little bit of a long story in that, even though Operation Fresh Start has been around for 50 years. About 20 years ago, my family was volunteering at a local food pantry. And we met another volunteer from the neighborhood who had a hobby farm just up the road from our home. He was having an open house that featured sheep shearing, beekeeping, and a walking tour of their impressive flower beds. We took our sons and had a little fun happening at the farm. About 6 years ago, we learned that the farm has been converted to Hartman Farm Sanctuary. My wife has been a lifelong animal welfare activist, and so she volunteered at Hartman right away. To promote community awareness and fundraise like we're trying to do today, like most nonprofits, we're supposed to advance it. For a fundraising picnic and walking tour. While I really like animals, the most interesting thing I saw that day was the operation doing and repurposing the barn and building out the animal pen. I've not previously heard of all of that West, but I was fascinated with the work they were doing and wanted to support it. In 2018, Robert Sherman and I funded Second Market Capital Economic. Local organizations work to positively impact the lives of young people and provide the right education. Exactly what Operation Fresh Start does, so it's a perfect fit. In these tough times, you always know we can use helping to survive. Really close and progress every day. We want to spend for 50,000. Thanks a lot.
So thank you, Ross and Robin and Dane and Simon, for all your support and believing in our young people. Our 50th anniversary celebration doesn't end at September, like Greg was talking about. Throughout the next 15 months, we will be continuing to share the story of Operation Fresh Start's history, growth, and impact on Dane County for the past 50 years. We will also share the stories of OFS graduates, how they experienced this experience helped them turn their lives around, and what they're doing now. These stories will be published on our brand new website to be launched the beginning of October. And we just have to give a really big shout out to YWCA's YWeb program, because they have been instrumental in providing this new website for us, and we couldn't have done it without them, and all free of charge as well. So let's give them a big round of applause. 50th anniversary stories on the blog section of the site and sharing them to your social pages. So please like our Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram so you can check out those stories to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Jody. And this event today, and really the whole week, has been Jody's brainchild. You know, we were planning an event with about 150 kind friends in person, and then COVID hit, and well, everything changed. So Jody was able to take everything and shift it to a virtual process, and through this, we're actually having twice as many people involved in our 50th anniversary. So thank you very much, Jody. And thank you, Second Market Capital, for planning this. Yeah, so if you're at home, check out that webpage. The donate button is very big. So hit that donate button and let's get to that 50,000. So through partnerships like the YWeb and, as I mentioned, that Drive to Succeed program, which is funded significantly by United Way, we're able to achieve even more in the community. But it's all about the young people and what they can achieve. So I'm happy to introduce a video talking to some of our graduates and what the press start has meant to them.
High school, like I felt like I didn't belong there. I started failing classes, skipping.
I guess a regular school, a lot of times it could be people that get passed without other people seeing them.
My counselors pulled me aside. They're like, yeah, like we're gonna need you to like kind of figure something out because like you're not gonna graduate on time and you may not graduate at all.
I guess like before I was here, I was like you could say like a bad kid, you know, and how like I'm a positive guy.
When I'm done with this program, I want to be in the medical field. Well, a year ago, my grandfather, he had a heart surgery. Obviously, that made me like want to help people.
All the staff have helped me on my road to becoming who I am now and what I want to be. Everybody here is supportive. So when you walk in, there's nobody that's just gonna like brush you off. Everybody work with you. Everybody is here to help. I think I matured a lot. Like, so I used to see things and just lose motivation. Now I see things and try to think of ways I can better myself and better the situation. I want to get into being an arborist and into urban forestry.
There was a person for everything at OFS. This person's going to help you with your interview. This is your teacher in class. They're going to help you with this. They even had a tax person there. It was like, here's this part to the ladder, and then the next person at OFS, here's this part to the ladder. I'm going to give it to you. This is how I'm going to help you climb that. If OFS wasn't there, I'm almost positive I wouldn't be where I'm at and doing a lot better for myself.
What Operation Fresh Start does, it tries to bring you just tries to help you start over. They focus you on your goal and they help you try to complete it. I think different now a little bit. I don't have that same child type of mindset. Like I actually think like I'm an adult now too. So it's changed me a lot.
Welcome back. That was a great video. I enjoy it every time I get to see it. Next, we have a panel of experts. which we're lucky to be as an organization surrounded by a lot of experts and a lot of people who are leaders in the community who care about our youth and the work that we do. So I'm pleased to introduce our panel, Judge Everett Mitchell. Seth Lentz, who is the Director of the Workforce Development Board of South Central Wisconsin. And Renee, who is the CEO of United Way of Kickoff. So welcome. Thank you for being here. We have a few questions for the panelists. Our first question, you guys can just take turns answering it, is what do you see as some of the biggest challenges for youth and young adults in our community? Who wants to go first?
Well, I can go first. I think, Greg, you hit on what I see as one of the greatest challenges, which is the messaging to our youth that they are our opportunity. They are one of our greatest assets in our community, and that we as a community are investing and we do value their engagement. I think that in the current times, there is a lot of stress and anxiety in the current environment in regards to social impacts, potentially labels as a result of some very difficult decisions that are having to be made. And those consequences of some of those decisions have long-lasting impacts. And oftentimes they're struggling with how to overcome or address those barriers. So if we can continue to remain focused on that message and providing access to them and give them and reinstill the value that they present to our community and help raise some of the hope and optimism in this environment, then I think that the rest of our programming and the collaborations and the alignments can help us take over.
Thank you, Seth. Go ahead, Renee.
I'm happy to go next. Welcome, everybody. Congratulations, Greg, on your 50th anniversary. And kudos to all of you board members, to all of our youth participants. And I also want to recognize the 50 years of volunteers, donors, and partners who have made your work so successful. Operation Fresh Start is a treasure. It's a community treasure. And we are so lucky to launch the next 50 years together. So I think one of the most challenging parts for our Opportunity Youth are they are often the kids who fall through the systems. So there's a lot of resource and investment. There's a lot of compassion for our littlest kids in the community. And you can see oftentimes it's very easy to rally and champion and volunteer support and donation support, and certainly many more agencies who are working in that young family space. I think that when you're looking into high school programs, out of school time, oftentimes those are designed for kids who are in school. And when you're looking at employment and training programs, they're so often designed for adults. You're oftentimes parents of many of our Opportunity Youth. But that Opportunity Youth space is oftentimes much more difficult. There are fewer places for kids to hang out in productive places. There are fewer programs, as Greg just mentioned to us. And I also think that when we talk to Opportunity Youth, and many of the youth that we're involved with are kids perhaps involved with a juvenile justice system, they say the two things they need are, number one, money and resource, but no one will hire me. Right, many of those indicators that you mentioned in your root cause assessment. And number two, I need a mentor who understands my lived experience. So that compassionate, caring adult who really understands not only I need someone to believe in me, but who also understands my circumstance, where I came from. And so those connection pieces that are so critically necessary are oftentimes not in as much abundance as other services as well.
Yes, and thank you again for allowing me to be here. Thank you so much, and I'm wonderful to be a part of this celebration with Operation Fresh Start. What I think a lot of our young people miss is that there existed two Madisons, a Madison of reality for certain people and an absence of possibility for certain groups. And a lot of the young people that I work with in our court, they don't even know that there's a bridge toward opportunities like Operation Fresh Start, nor they're aware that these are possibilities that could exist to them or their families. So a part of it is messaging, but a part of it is being very intentional and leveraging the partnerships that we have throughout the community to ensure that these young people know that there are certain careers that are open to all of us, right? Just like we can build careers toward athletics or, and I hate to say it, rap music, which is a predominant path that they think. We have to get inside their stream of consciousness so they think about trades, they think about coding, they think about electronics and building as much as they think about rap and playing basketball and football and all those other sports, and make sure that they have the tools and skills necessary. So we have to strengthen our educational partners so that when they do come to Operation Fresh Start, that they actually can do the math that they need to be able to pass the classes, that they can actually read, at a level that allows them to be competitive in the courses. Because I know a lot of people think that a lot of these young people who are caught up in the juvenile justice system are just children who are just creating drama wherever they go. They really are young people who really don't have the educational resources to actually be competitive. And so many of them are just severely embarrassed that they can't do it. So they act out in very destructive ways because they cannot read, because they are dyslexic, because they have been traumatized and their trauma has not been met with any kind of care and compassion. And they don't know what to do to overcome that stigma. So places that are patient and caring and kind and loving and they can see them and they can hear them are the kind of places that give them the opportunity to be transformed. And we're blessed in our community to have Operation Fresh Start because they have all of those modalities up under one roof. And that's why we're still sitting here talking about 50 years later about the great contribution that they have made to our community.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. So, Judge Mitchell, as a judge, but also a community leader, one thing which we're looking to do at Fresh Start is raise the voice of our young people in the community and providing us as a platform to bring that voice forward. Can you speak to maybe some conversations or ways which we could work with our young people to raise their voice and have them be heard?
So one of the things I always advocate for people to do is that anytime you want to talk about young people is to invite them to the table, right? You have to create very intentional spaces for which they have leadership and they have voice. And when I say voice, I don't mean that they just share their opinion, but I mean actually give them power at the table, that their voice and their vote matters at the table itself. So whenever you have board of directors or you have advisory committees that are looking at policies and change, I say that's when you have the young people to be involved. Don't treat them as an after effect. Make sure that they intentionally brought into the process up front, so that everything that you are touching and everything that your organization is trying to do, that they're involved in that process. And so since you all have a group of young people already involved in your projects, it'd be easy to bring them in, get their voices, and attach them to mentors who can begin to show them the democracy that can exist in these spaces and let the voices be heard. You have a lot of young people whose voices are starting to emerge in very powerful ways. And so as adults, sometimes it's hard for us to listen, but we need to become better listeners and to let them understand that we're here to support their ideas. And to the degree in which we may not agree with them, might mean we need to even dig a little bit deeper and listen harder. So I tell you, young people always tell me all the time, say, Judge, you got to stay woke. And I say, okay, I don't know exactly what you mean by that, but I will wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning and do something. But the intention is to be very attentive to the things that they're asking for. And when they ask us to do it, then do it.
Thank you, Judge. And I think that is one thing that as an organization we can look to over the next 50 years is how to bring our young people into those tables, into those conversations, and raise their voice. Seth, as the leader of the Workforce Development Board, your life's tough now. The economy isn't as good as it used to be, considering COVID. And the reality is a lot of that is hitting our population, young people. Nationally, the unemployment rate for youth is about 20%, which is the highest it's been since the Great Depression. So with that, Seth, how are you going to fix it all? No. To begin with, how do you think programming for this population, for youth, needs to be different than programming for the adult population?
Well, I think that I wish I had the answer because I'd probably be calling it from my island someplace. But I think the answer is going to continue to be that we have to be nimble. Our environment changed on the dime. We didn't anticipate it. We know that this population tends to be most vulnerable. They tend to be the first ones out of the workforce when there's an economic shift. They tend to be the last ones back in. I think your earlier comments about really increasing their exposure to industry and opportunities is going to continue to be essential. Our work world is going to be different it's going to be different for all of us. We're going to have to continue to learn in new ways, apply skills in new ways, be adaptable in new ways that we never foresaw before. And so we're going to have to adjust absolutely everything we've done. But I think that the value that Operation Fresh Start has is you're here for 50 years for a reason. You've been able to adapt. You've been able to stay relevant. You've been able to keep that voice involved in guiding what the need is, and you have a community that is behind you to help support creating those opportunities. We're going to have to remain focused on allowing youth to help explore new opportunities as they continue to evolve and develop, because they're not going to be just the standard career paths or just the standard industry paths any longer. And so we're going to have to be able to support them making that transition as they continue to refine themselves and find new opportunities. But that also is a classroom-based, that's also an environment-based, and it's not a quick fix. So youth programming tends to be longer, and that's intentional, and it's going to have to continue to be very staff-intensive, and having quality staff and collaborations is going to be essential to be able to create these opportunities, to get them those experiences and support them as they navigate their growth and find their new footing in this new environment.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you. I look forward to partnering in this work going forward. So Renee, United Way does so much for the community and so much for different populations in the community. I know one focus which the United Way is engaged in is stopping generational poverty. So that's providing the opportunity for children who have grown up in poverty to sort of stop this cycle where their children are in poverty. The reality of young people is they quickly turn into young parents. So how can United Way prioritize this population to stop that generational poverty from happening?
Thank you. So we know that all the research shows that when you're focusing on families in a two-generational way, you're able to lift folks out of poverty and onto pathways towards self-sufficiency more effectively. So looking at one of your root cause analysis ahas was talking about family of origin, and what Judge Mitchell was talking about was all sorts of systemic issues and personal issues that really lead to the environment that create that disconnection and that opportunity to reconnect. So when we're thinking about families, we know that it's not just about the direct program. We make a huge individual difference when we're talking about mentorship, job skills, and all the things that Operation Fresh Start is best in class at providing. And we know we need housing stability, we need parent coaching skills, and we also need mentors to help walk together to get to financial stability, independence, and self-sufficiency. And so when we're talking about what it takes to get kids graduation ready, to get kids with skilled trades, to understand work practices, how to show up on time, how to engage and look people in the eye, how not to look at that cell phone, Greg, that you were talking about when we're in a meeting. Those are the types of skills that if you haven't had that in your history, you don't know that, right? All of us have learned new things across the course of our lives, and we have trusted adults and friends who help us to learn new and see dreams bigger than our windows. So that's what this is really all about. Ultimately, we know when there are higher educational attainment levels and when there are higher income levels, kids have the opportunity to choose when they have babies. And kids with higher education levels and more income oftentimes delay births as well as have fewer births. Now, that's somewhat of a controversial statement, but the data bears it out. So I think when we're talking about two-generational work, this is really around really investing in the young person because they are the future, right? They are the parents of tomorrow, and we know how important parents are, and we know how important it is for the community to wrap ourselves around parents, future parents, to make sure that all of our families have the chance to thrive and be successful.
Thank you, Renee. Thank you. So really the last question, and I think we'll start with Renee and move down the table this way, is having looked at our roadmap for the future for Opportunity Youth, and knowing everything that you know about the community and being as smart as each of you are, where should Operation Fresh Start focus as we look forward?
Well, you have done a terrific job understanding the root causes, looking at what works, what gaps are missing. And so I think that the roadmap you have laid out is really fantastic. I do think that there's an opportunity to continue in with the multi-generational approach. So Greg also talked about that beautiful partnership with YWCA, and there are so many other organizations who work in concert. So how do we make sure we center our families, we center our opportunity youth, and make sure there's no wrong door? We want a real-time need, real-time response type of platform across Dane County. So wherever you are, if there is a need, we're able to look at the amazing volunteers. If you're in construction, or you're an architect, or you're a financial advisor, or you've got some passion to help, we want to make sure nonprofits who are doing really great work who could use that capacity building are able to match those systems. We also know that if you're a volunteer, if you're a family or an agency who needs something, that there is a way to connect the dots and make sure that we're focusing on that together. So moving forward, how do we continue those collaborations? How do we help make sure the nonprofit network is working to center families and get folks what they need in real time with a real response from the community? That's an opportunity. The other thing I would, so continued collaborations. I use a lot of words. Number one, continued collaboration. Number two, I would say, it would be amazing, and I wonder how to activate those great kids that you just saw in your video, right? All these opportunity youth who have now demonstrated the pipeline of Operation Fresh Start, the community of support. How do they reach back? We know that so many of our young people right now, you are building the skills, you've got the ahas that you've learned through your successes through Operation Fresh Start. How do we use those folks to bring your skills to teach others and lift others and increase with that mentorship? So keep going with your strategy, and those would be two additional comments I had. Thank you.
What's that? I have to echo many of the sentiments there. I think that, again, you're not here by accident. I think that you've demonstrated your ability to innovate and stay relevant. You've not only expanded to where other industries that have demands that are also of interest to the population, you've continued to evolve and accommodate and engage those. I think that that's going to continue to be very important. I think that it's also likely going to be necessary for us to increase that post follow-up assistance and support and mentorship long term. I think that you have a great alumni that you can continue to leverage, both from the mentoring standpoint, but also as they get into industry, how can they leverage each other and support each other as they continue to progress throughout their career? I think collaboration and innovation are going to continue to be there. And I think it's also beholden upon the community to help financially support those innovations and opportunities. As many times some funds have restrictions and limitations, it's the blending, the melding, and the stacking of those resources to help us. I think, again, you're not here by accident. 50 years for an organization serving this population is astounding. We've been working with you for decades, and I look forward to continuing for decades. So,
Thank you, Seth.
I would say, from my perspective, I would like to see Operation Fresh Start to envision themselves working with younger children. I know that you have sometimes a pilot where you want to start around 16, 17-year-olds, but in our community, we need them at 13, 14, 15 to be involved in processes by which they're learning these skilled trades. A lot of my young people, I would love to give the opportunity to, rather than sending them to prison, I love to be able to say, I'm going to send you to Operation Fresh Start. And let them be let that be your sentence, and let them teach you, let them mentor you, let them provide you the resources, because it costs us over $200,000 to send one child to the Department of Corrections. What do you think our community could be doing with $200,000 per child? We could be returning that investment back to the community in many different ways and giving us an opportunity. And then secondly, to really inspire entrepreneurship, I like the idea that the young people will learn to work for companies, but it would also good to teach them that they need to be prepared to build out on their own, to build their own companies, to build their own trades. Because one thing COVID probably has taught us more than anything else is that you got to remain flexible, and you got to have a set of skills that you can be able to promote both in a pandemic and outside of it, because you never know when the next one's coming, and there's always something that's coming to our shores. So the more you are nimble in your own ability to inspire entrepreneurship, the more you can rely on yourself, and the more you can rely on the set of skills that will provide for you, your community, and your family long term.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you to everyone on the panel for great ideas. And we look forward to working with all of you and everyone in the community to try to bring these ideas into reality. So, thank you. one more important activity today, and that is to award our Cornerstone Award. So this award goes to a couple who have been instrumental and meaningful, both to the organization and to me personally. So they came to the organization about 7 years ago when we were in a little bit of a state of flux as an organization. We had this idea that we needed a new facility, and boy, did we need a new facility, but we didn't know how we were going to get there. These two people came to the organization, and we asked for a gift, and they gave a gift. We asked for another gift, and they gave another gift. And then we asked them to lead our capital campaign to build a new Fresh Start, and they said yes. And then they said, what about being on the board? And they said, what about art for the new building? And they said, what about this that the young people need, or that the organization really needs? And they just kept giving. And giving financially is one thing, but giving heart and soul is another thing. So through their leadership, we were able to complete a capital campaign successfully, $4.5 million to build a new Fresh Start, which is wonderful. We were able to enter the building with an opportunity roadmap in place and with goals and designs for program expansion and with a vision of what this organization could do for you. So it is with great leadership that organizations are able to do things. My job is just to hopefully get people in the right place, and I was lucky enough that this couple came and chose to be in the right place for Fresh Start. So with that, I'd like to award and bring up to the podium here, award the Cornerstone Award to Lau and D. Christensen.
Thank you, Greg. We're so pleased to be here today as part of this 50th anniversary celebration. We remember very well 7 years ago when we made our first visit to Operation Fresh Start and came away with some very strong impressions. The first impression was that they need help. This facility is falling apart. So that was a pretty easy sell on their part that they needed to do something. The second impression was that this was a really well-run organization with a tremendous mission and excellent leadership and staff, and so that made a strong impression. And the third impression was based on a very, very smart thing that they did on our first visit. They made sure that we sat down with several of the participants in the program. And by the time we left from that visit, we both had wet eyes. We'd fallen in love with these young people who were taking advantage of an opportunity to improve their lives, and made such an impression on us. Yes, this is something we want to be involved in. So we, in fact, have been passionate about supporting Operation Fresh Start for the past 6 years.
The young people are so important to us. They're important to everyone, but for some reason, and they need to connect. And even no matter what it was, we were happy with them. And thinking back on one of the times was we were in the morning when they all meet before they go off to do their work or whatever. And they were trying to stand up and talk in the front, and you couldn't hear them. And we were sitting fairly close. So I thought, oh, I know what they need. They need a microphone. And they need the, what do you call it? The amplifier for the microphone.
And so the next time there was a meeting, we came with an amplifier and a microphone. And it was such a joy to watch them because there were two cordless microphones and passing them around and being able to talk on the microphone. And I'm going to ask you guys that are back there, do you still have that?
Yeah.
Oh, great! That's good. That's just an example.
Brothers are back up today, so.
Our hearts go out to all the young people. They need us, they need you, they need everyone that's interested in helping young people. Because when we look at them, you have to be careful that you don't cry, because you want to help them so bad. And that's it.
Thank you. It's been a privilege, and we greatly appreciate you showing today that our efforts have been always. Thank you so much.
So I'm not really a hugger, but if this wasn't a COVID world, I'd just give them a big hug. Just for everything that they've done for the organization and the community, not just at Fresh Start. They're absolutely deserving of this award. Our board of directors has term limits, so you can serve 2 3-year terms, and then you actually flex off the board. So Lau and B are finishing up their term this year. Their term is president. We'll definitely want them to stay involved in the organization in every way possible, but their board term is ending, which the presidents of the board do a lot. One thing is they're technically leading the board, which is my boss. So I've appreciated having them as my boss as well. So thank you, Lau and B. So the theme today is future. And one thing about COVID and just everything going on, I get a little bleak about future now. I wake up in the morning, I put on a mask, I go to work, everyone else is wearing a mask, we're social distancing, we're doing everything necessary to stay safe, but there's a little bit of a disconnect. When you look at some of the other issues in the community, and the community has come distances as far as civil rights, but there is still issues which we are facing as a community which we have to overcome. And the fact that there's still issues, is a little depressing at times. But I look at this organization, and I look at the youth, and I look at everything which has been accomplished, not just from an organization, but from every youth that comes into the organization, not knowing where they're going, and scared and unsure, and leaves the organization with a path and an opportunity. And frankly, that bleakness is lifted. So as you go forward in the rest of the day and the rest of the week, just remember that there are things in our community happening which the future is bright. There's a bright future for us, and it's in our youth and in organizations like Operation Fresh Start. So as you go forward the rest of the day and you hit that donate button, just remember that. We've got a bright future, a lot of work to do, but together we can get it done. Thank you for being part of it.